Yo, what up? Good afternoon. It's your boy Adam Bomb the Phenomenon, and I'm coming at you with another video on this Saturday afternoon. And if you're watching in the morning, if you're watching in the evening, if you're watching in the middle of the night, well, welcome and happy evening, afternoon, morning, middle of the night to you. It's a Labor Day weekend, so I hope everybody has a great 3-day weekend coming up. And what I'm going to do in this video is I'm going to give you my feelings on how I feel living in Albuquerque. And I'm going to go over some points that I found on the internet that you'll probably see when it comes to like real estate and standard and quality of living, blah blah blah. But I'm also going to give my opinion and what I like to do here, and based on that kind of give my overall opinion of how I feel about Albuquerque. Before I get into that though, if you could please like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff, I'd really appreciate it. It seems my last video got some attention on the comments, which I think is fucking awesome. So I hope this video does the same thing. On a side note too, I watched Jurassic Park last night, the brand new one, Jurassic Park Dominion. And let me say it kind of sucked, because I've been watching Jurassic Park since its inception. And this one seemed more like James Bond meets, Jurassic Park. It wasn't that great. It was too, I don't know, action-packed with like the 007 James Bourne aspect of it, I also had Jiffy Pop last night, and I've had Jiffy Pop for a while now. If you haven't had Jiffy Pop in your life, you're missing out. I personally don't own a microwave, so Jiffy Pop is where it's at, and that shit comes out so fucking fire. It's better than microwave popcorn in my opinion. But that's the side note. That's all I gotta say about that. I hope you enjoy the rest of this video, because I want to be talking about things that are just maybe not up your alley. Maybe you're planning on moving to Albuquerque, maybe you lived here before in the past, or maybe you're coming to visit. Whatever the case may be, I hope this video gives you some information. And what you're seeing here on the video here is my dash cam and my GoPro recording from my passenger side door. And you're going to see me drive in. I believe I started 6:45 and I drove till about 7:45. So about an hour worth of video. And you're going to see some things that I put together, clipped together, and hope it's a little bit more interactive this time, so you can see the front side and the passenger side as I drive around. Now, I'm gonna go for the boring stuff first. Just the top 10 things that say to do in Albuquerque, or the top 10 reasons people move to Albuquerque. And basically, I'm reading this straight off the internet, is that people move to Albuquerque because the cost of living is slightly below the national average, and it has one of the highest property tax rates in the state, which I don't own a house, I live in an apartment. But people move here because you pay slightly less for the groceries, utilities, and transportation. So there's that. Now when it comes to the standard of living, on a scale of 0 to 100, Albuquerque's livability score is 69, which is a great fucking number if you know what I'm talking about. I mean, get your mind out the gutter, right? But it's one of those things, you gotta say something about it. Basically, the overall happiness is a 69 on a scale of 0 to 100. And the quality of living, it's ranked number 8 on the livability list of the 2021 top 10 remote ready cities in the US. And they factor that on broadband access, local jobs that can be done from home, affordability, and robust regional economy and a quality of life. So there's that. And then of course the pros, these are like I guess the top whatever number, 10, 12, however many there is. The median home value of Albuquerque is competitive, which I don't own a home. And me being a millennial, I'm not even going to start too much on this, but owning a home seems very difficult. I'm tired of renting in an apartment. I'm tired of giving money to something that I'm not ever going to own. But owning a home in general just seems really difficult right now, especially with the increase of things going up and up. Jeez. Albuquerque is home to a rich mix of cultures, ethnicities, and identities. And of course, I think that's anywhere you go pretty much. I don't know why that's a big factor. I mean, you get Native Americans here, which I think maybe you don't get, in other small towns up in the Midwest. But of course you have your African Americans, your Hispanics, your whites, Asians, all that good stuff, you know, coming into the mix, which I think most big cities have anyways, right? A number of fun activities in the region. Now, they say region because if you live in Albuquerque, there's really not much to do in terms of outdoorsy stuff. You got to kind of travel out at least an hour and a half to 2 hours, if not more, to get to some of the state's fun stuff to do in terms of outdoorsy stuff. The cost of an education in Albuquerque is highly competitive. Now, touching on that, recently, I think within the past year, I believe, they made college education here free for any New Mexico residents, which I think is pretty unheard of in most areas. I'm not sure if they have that in other areas, but I know here it's completely free if you're a New Mexico resident. Now, the one thing I want to say on that, though, is that New Mexico is known for having the highest amount of PhDs, masters, that are given at our university, but we also have a huge brain drain, which means people come here for the cheap education to get their PhD, masters, and then they go ahead and leave to a more competitive city, which I think in turn will probably pay you more for your skills. So a big brain drain is here. I didn't go to college here. I went to college in Texas, but I haven't used my college degree once. I was planning on becoming a school teacher. When I left college, it just didn't feel right? I think I did like 6 months of assistant teaching and just didn't feel right for where I was at in my life. And even now that I'm older, 10 years later, I still don't feel that I want to be a teacher. So, you know, getting a college degree is awesome. I highly recommend it. And if you want to come to New Mexico, it's completely free. Just become a resident and you can get a 4-year college degree and start wiping your ass with that thing. Number 5 here is there's many culinary cuisines here and culture that's tough to beat in the United States. Food is everywhere, right? And I think wherever you go regionally, you're gonna get great food. So I don't know why that's a big deal here. I mean, you get the Native American food here, right? You get the fried bread and other things that come with the Native American culture, which I can't really say I'm very versed in, but there's that big perk. But other than that, I think no matter where you go, you're gonna have great food. I lived in Dallas, Texas for I think 15 months, and that has the most restaurants per capita. And I think in the United States it has the most restaurants per capita. And even then, the food was good, but I wasn't overwhelmed or taken aback by it, right? The traffic in Albuquerque is manageable. Yeah, it is. I haven't seen much of a traffic jam here unless you have an accident on the interstate, but if there's no accident, traffic moves pretty good here. I lived in Austin, Dallas, Denver area, and the traffic there fucking sucks about 24/7, so I guess that's a perk. Plenty of outdoor adventures here. Like I said, there are some things you can do here within Albuquerque. You know, you can drive about 30 minutes and get some stuff to hike around, but if you want to get some really good outdoorsy stuff, you gotta drive at least an hour to 2 hours away, if not more, to find some of the good stuff around here. Life moves at its own pace in Albuquerque, so I'm not really sure what that means, but I guess the pace of life you want to live, I think it depends on the person yourself, right? Because these people here on the streets, let's face it, they're living their life fast and they're headed to the grave pretty fast. But you know, if you have a job and kids and wife, you know, your life moves at a different pace than other people who happen to live on the streets here, and there's all the in-betweens. So that right there, I think, you know, is a perk if you're looking at it from whatever perspective you want to look at it. The people in Albuquerque are generally friendly. I think no matter where you go, people are people. And I think no matter where you go, people overall are pretty nice. When it comes to Albuquerque, compared to the other places I lived, I would put it more on the bottom of my list. People demand respect here, whether you're a single mom or you're a family or you're cruising down Central and you're a lowrider, whatever it is, they demand a level of respect than most places I've ever lived before. And not that I don't give respect, and not that people don't give respect overall, I just think that here you don't want to do things Like, you don't want to have road rage just because you're pissed off, because they're going to have road rage back at you. And I've heard numerous times where people will get the fuck out of their car and they will stop in front of you and they will cause a confrontation. Or if you're in a parking lot and you try to steal a parking space from them, try to get there faster, they will pull up behind you and they will get out of their car and they will talk to them, run their shit. I've seen it happen just at a Barnes & Noble right down the street from where I live. And of course, when you're cruising down Central, or even if you're just walking, you know, they demand a respect here that's a little bit different than other places I've lived. So it kind of puts you, not like on edge, but, you know, you give people a little bit more of a thought here than you would somewhere else, right? And you don't want to step on anybody's toes here, because you don't know where people come from. And I think that's with anywhere you go, but I think especially here in Albuquerque, you think twice before you do something that's going to be disrespectful to somebody, right? So generally friendly, sure, why not? But like I said, my opinion is a little bit different. You don't want to push people's toes. Owning a vehicle is rather easy when living in Albuquerque. I guess, whatever, but you have a vehicle here, the chance of you getting it broken into and stolen, it's really, really high. In fact, I think statistically Albuquerque is in the top 5 of car thefts in the United States. Maybe they're number 1. I think at one point they were, but I think we've kind of curved that a little bit. And I know right now Hyundais and Kia Souls are the number 1 stolen car because they're easy to, I don't know, get into, and then you can use a cell phone charger to break into them or make them start. Some crazy mechanics that I hear on the news. So yeah, owning a vehicle. I think you could buy a vehicle anywhere. I don't know why that's a perk, but I've had my car broken into twice since living here, and I've learned never to leave a bag in your car or anything like that. And I think that's with anywhere, right? But with here especially, you know, crime here is at an all-time high, and it's only getting worse. And the crime here is not racially charged or gang related. It's just basically people being selfish, right? They want things to sell to get their next high, or they want to take the catalytic converter from people's cars to sell for $200 a pop, or, you know, they want your ID so they can go get alcohol somewhere. They want your pain pills or whatever you may be prescribed because they want to get high. Like, the crime here is selfish, and it doesn't matter who you are, because when I first moved here, I never thought that crime would happen to me. It's never happened to me before, but when I moved here, it's happened twice, and, you know, it pisses me off, but it is what it is, right? Especially living in Albuquerque. And then of course we'll talk about the cons real quick, whatever they say here on the internet. The job market's struggling. I think with anything, anywhere in the United States right now, I think the job market's struggling. So if you want a job, you can get a job here. If you don't want a job, then don't get a job, right? Me personally, I cannot work right now just because of the past that I've had. It kind of put me at a disadvantage when it comes to my background. So currently I'm working on that, but don't think that if you move to Albuquerque, you can't get a job, because you can get a job. And they're highly in demand here for teachers and for people to be school bus drivers. And they're also in demand for the tech industry, since we have Netflix here, Facebook here, Amazon here. So there's really good job opportunities here. The minimum wage is problematic for many families. I don't think that's an issue, because Texas's minimum wage is $7.50 still. If I'm wrong, please correct me, but you know, the minimum wage here in Albuquerque I think is $10.50, $10.75, so I think you'll be just okay. Some people can struggle getting used to the weather. Whatever, weather is weather. If you don't like the snow, don't come here. If you don't like the heat in the desert, don't move here, right? People tend to move to places where they can be successful and prosperous. I don't think weather is a huge factor. Yes, Albuquerque does get snow, but it doesn't get like freezing cold if you were to live in St. Paul, Minnesota, or South Dakota, right? Graduation rates in New Mexico are lackluster. I can't agree more, right? People don't want to fucking go to school, and if they do, they drop out because they either get involved in something they're not supposed to get involved in, or The school itself, the school system is broken because there's no teachers to teach, and the substitutes who were in the classroom, I mean, I think we had to call in the National Guard to substitute classes. That's how short of teachers we are here in Albuquerque. So that's that. Don't knock that. Come here if you want education. I feel education, you either want it or you don't. Okay. Drug-related crime in Albuquerque is high. Yeah, that's the biggest problem here. I mean, car thefts, package thefts, businesses getting broken into on a day-to-day basis every fucking day, right? And the problem is the cops don't do shit about it because there's so much going on, they really can't target specific person or group, and the people who do it usually don't have a home address. I think I mentioned that in my last video. So it's above average from what you expect with the city with more than 500,000 people. Okay, and because a lot of people here live in general poverty, low wages, and lack of opportunities, crime can be a significant problem here. So if you're coming to move here, get ready for, just be on your toes, be a little bit more aware of your surroundings. Let's see, number 6, you'll need to get used to the wind when living in the city. Whatever, I'm passing that. You will need to be on your child's teachers about the quality of their work. We have the highest capita of doctorate recipients in the United States, but we have the worst K through 12 education in the country. So I'll leave that at that. We can use some infrastructure improvements. I think the highways work just fine here. I think the city lights work just fine here. So those are the pros and cons I got off the internet. So lastly, I'm going to give my overall opinion of how I feel living in Albuquerque, which I'm sure what you guys have all been waiting for. And I'll come out straight with it. On a scale of 1 to 10, I give Albuquerque a 4. And that's only based on where I've lived previously, which has been El Paso, Texas, Dallas, Texas, Austin, Texas, Fort Collins, Colorado, and Custer, South Dakota. And I have to admit, I have to put it down there on the bottom of places I've lived before. Now, that's based on my overall opinion of living here based on my hobbies and interests. So for example, I like going to concerts. So if you like going to concerts here, you're going to have a 50-50 chance of seeing a band you like, right? Because they're either going to pick Albuquerque and come here, or they're going to go to El Paso, Texas, or Denver, Colorado, or Phoenix, or Oklahoma City, and completely skip over Albuquerque. And usually the shows here, like for example, I saw Silverstein here in Albuquerque. Their set that they played was not really as intimate as the set they played in Austin, Texas, right? Because Austin's a more, I guess, hyped up city, where Albuquerque doesn't really get the recognition for, I guess, their crowd presence. Whatever. But we also saw Backstreet Boys here. I think we're going to see One Republic because we won tickets off the radio. So, there are concerts that come through here, and, it's 50-50. Also, I love going to breweries. So the brew scene here is pretty decent compared to other places I live. In fact, I put it on, my top 2 places, right behind Denver, Fort Collins area. And I remember my first ever IPA was a Ranger IPA, and wow, that shit got me lit. And ever since then, I've been drinking craft brewery and craft beer versus the normal Budweiser, Keystone, and Busch, right? Now, the brew scene here is awesome because you've probably heard of a brewery called Santa Fe Brewery in your local stores, and they have that beer called Happy Camper. So I've seen that beer as far up in South Dakota when I used to live there. And they have other ones like La Cumbre, Tractor, what else is there? Boxing Bear. So the brew scene here is pretty good. Now, they don't have breweries as often being built here like you would see in Denver area, but I can at least say that I've been to every brewery here in Albuquerque, and I've also been to a few, like, in Las Cruces and Truth or Consequences as I've been traveling through here. Oh, and in Santa Fe as well. So if you like breweries, that's kind of the spot where, you want to be. And the last thing I want to say, I guess my con about living in Albuquerque that I have to say based on my opinion is just overall the city aesthetic is not very pleasing to the eye. I'm not sure why that is. Maybe it's just the desert. Maybe it's just